Then,
When you add what?
then you add the new to do.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
Add one more information to the object. For example, here you have text, done, and ID, and I don't know. Add
Like level or
yes,
priority.
Yeah, yes,
Priority.
like that, yeah, like that.
And?
Yes, you know better. Yes, something like this.
So what we should do?
And I don't know. I just want to make it a little bit complicated because.
If I will tell you something, if you find yourself that you are adding more, so you want this one to have priority, but this one will not. Only one of them will have priority.
Yeah.
This
Yes,
is your idea.
Exactly.
That's wrong. You should not do that. You know why? Because if a component is different in its own data,
okay,
it should not be the same. You got the idea?
You are right.
You know what I mean? It's like using the shutbox and the post, but they are different.
Yes, you are right.
They are the same because they are loop over message, and this one loops over comments. But the base data model, it's different. How you will render priority? Will you render it next to it here or down here? Which one? So the component will be different because the data will change. So you should not do that. But if you want to customize how the component is behaving, yes, that's correct. For example, every time you add, the counter should start from 50. Or every time you delete,
Yes,
you are allowed to delete just 2. You cannot delete more than 2.
Okay.
That's something you can reuse. But if the base thing changing, that's not.
You are right.
You know what I mean? So this is how you should think about it. So let's say, for example, instead of saying to do one, the initial one will be like this dot props dot initial. Okay? And initial here will be
To do 2.
To do 3. Okay? And initial here, it should be to do 4.
Yeah.
So to do 4, to do 3.
Yeah.
So based on the props, we can change how the component interacts. And that, I think, so if we remove this will be a problem because this doesn't have. Because you didn't pass anything. We can do something. We can do something called default props. So default props is a way to say, if no one passes me this props, take this value instead. It's like a default value. So you can say it's to-dos dot default props, and you say which prop. The prop name is initial. Initial is maybe, let's say, a default value. So now we get a default value in the first one, and even that we are not passing any default value here. But because we didn't pass anything,
we create one as a default that
yes,
has a value I am default value.
This is a role of default props.
No, actually, sorry.
Okay, I don't know.
Go.
You know, actually, whenever we refresh the page, we lost all the things that we have done. So if we want to keep the information somewhere, what we should do?
We can use, that's like in the next class, for example, we will have like we will load data from an API.
Okay.
And we will see.
In one page we can have 5, 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Websites.
Besides, like Facebook,
yeah.
The Messenger is a separate app. The Messenger is a separate app, like literally.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Because when you refresh, the Messenger doesn't get refreshed. If you go to profile, home, the messages will be there. There is something else. There is something called.
Even with Slack, we did every time.
Yeah.
All the chat, even if you go here, the chat stays the same.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't have any idea how it was built. So
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. Because you can achieve the same thing with jQuery, but good luck. It will be so difficult to do. It's something you can do, definitely. But
I think
it
it's
was
a
good.
more, it is a matter of more headache. Like you need
Yeah.
to implement it so many things.
Yeah, because the React now is enforcing you to do specific things, and everybody who uses React, they will use React in a specific way. And that's good. But if you use jQuery or something that gives you more freedom, everybody will have its own way. And good luck trying to like work with other people, because everybody was like, he's working on it. But with React, like state props, class props, state default props, like define. There is something else. There is something called prop types. So you say prop types.
Oh, yes, yes. I saw somewhere.
So prop types is like you define the type of your props. So you need to add a package called
And sometimes they write it, it's
yarn. Just say
necessary.
yarn add prop types. This is a package from npm. You install it. It was part of React
Okay.
before 16, I think, or 15. Now they removed it to a separate package. Like you can use it, you cannot use it. It's fine. It's your problem.
And this is a way you can add more and more third-party components.
One needs
To define prop types.
okay.
Excuse me,
What?
But still, why we can use
Like, what's the purpose of using
Yeah.
prop types?
We will see. Just a second. I'm waiting for it to install and we will give like.
I saw somewhere it was required, you know. It's,
I found one. It was with React.
It was inside React before.
Yeah.
So you don't need to install anything else. But now they removed it from React. You need to install it yourself.
okay, no, when it was a
It's
prototype, it's equal to the.
Something required. Yeah, we will see that. We will see that. We will see. It's done.
error.
It's done.
server.
I simply have to define prop tickets and
So this, so prop types is a way to add types and say this initial is of type array. This is type something. So it's a way to type your props. So you can see clearly that the component takes this and takes this. Let's, for example, see. To-dos takes one props called initial. What's the type of initial? String.
Oh yeah, we see it in MND. You know when you say
Yeah.
array proper
So
type,
you say prop type. Prop types from prop types. This one. And you go here and it's an object like the default props. But you say, for example, initial. Initial is prop types
That's string.
dot string.
I-
And you can say is required or you cannot put it. In our case, it's not required. You know why? Because we have an init default value. So we don't need to say that it's required. Cool? But now, if I will not pass string here, let's say I will pass 4,
It doesn't work.
it will work. Warning, failed prop type, invalid prop initial of type number supplied to to-dos, expected string.
Yeah.
It was expecting string, but it got a number instead.
Now we give you a warning, but if you do
Why-
is
why
required,
false?
it will give you an error.
No.
No?
No.
Because it's like something when you say
Look,
forcing something
Prop type can
should
never
be type
touch,
of string.
but prop type will never touch your code and fail your code. It doesn't do that. But if you say it's required, mostly, probably, for example, if I will say here,
What the idea to make is required then if you
yes, to require, if you don't have, yeah, the whole prop type doesn't do anything. If you remove it or you put it, it doesn't touch your application. But it's a way to communicate with other developers what your component get, because usually you have like a lot of components. You know what I mean? A lot. An example of this is like, Coursera. It's a website, just a website. So they have a lot of components. So for example, they have a component called grid. No, we can go to something. Yeah, they have a component called select like this. Okay, you can add stuff and delete.
The
It's
component
bad.
inside a component.
It's a component. It's built by someone inside the company. You want to use it. How to use it? you see the prop types, and you can see that this component takes this and takes this and takes this, and you can use it without going inside the components to figure out what the component takes.
Because in this case, it's like when you do now you do prototype the string. When you do console log reduce, you see actually the class with all the prototypes, the components inside.
Yeah. So for example, in this list component,
That's the required. What's happened if you change the required?
you mean like this? Here it doesn't make sense to put it required because we have a default value.
Take it off.
Remove the default and now
It's saying that the initial is marked as required. It should be required, but
okay,
It's-
just for developer.
what?
Just give you what?
Like the developer.
Yeah, it's
I've been saying until now, it's so you can know the prop types. This is what I'm saying. It's not something you put inside the code, it's outside. It's not required because we have an initial value. If we don't have an initial value, we need to have required. It's a hint for developers. It's not something you use inside your code. This doesn't write code for you. It doesn't help you at all. This shows you that this should be this and this. It's like
It's like when you
it's like documentation. It's like commenting code.
when you create an input and you want that the user write a text and then you do try and catch. If it works something else, you tell you, oh, this one should be a string. You throw another to handle it.
Yeah.
Kinda.
But this is like this is not related to error handling or anything.
Yeah.
It's just for developers so they can see what your component takes. Make sense? Any questions?
Stupid question, but still.
There's no stupid questions.
If my initial takes two values, like number and string, how I can initial
You mean like maybe it's a string, maybe it's a number.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use prop types one off. And one off, it takes an array, prop types, dot string, prop types, dot number. One of these two. If you take an object with name and age, you say shape, and you say, anyways, you got the idea.
We can take document. It has document for props.
Yeah, you can define the type of your data here.
No, there is a document for prop types.
Oh yeah, you can just go to the NPM website and just see.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Just say
Just say
React prop types, and it's like all the prop types that you can do. You have array of, object of, one of type, one of. We should one of type, not one of. I was mistaken. Instance of, object of, shape, required. You can even have your custom function if you want to check for something specific. Clear? Let's try to do another example. I will create a new folder here. I will call it to-dos. And I will move to-dos to it.
Even you can ask us question when it's a challenging way. You can ask each part from one person. For example, what should I do now? Every person answering.
Yeah, we have been doing this. Especially like you have been like trying to. Yeah, we can do that. I will remove this and. So I will create a new. So this is header. Just to keep it. I'll create a new folder called I don't know, form. new file index.js. So let's try to create a form or something because we have been working with state, and I think form is something that you will face
Mess you up a lot.
because that's like primarily the thing about state is like which form and stuff. So let's say I will import React. From React, okay, and I will say class form or my form extends React.component. Good. Render. Return empty string. So we will create a form with, for example, name as an initial thing.
You need to export now.
I still didn't use it. Input. I will follow you on export. Yes, we can put it in a form actually. Okay. And I will have input. So input needs value and on change. Type is
Placeholder.
just a second. No, we're not go like we're not this is go like crazy with for like label. It's fine. We have a button. No, it's an input, sorry. Type submit. Or it's a button, or I can't.
No, even input, and then you do value, and you get the name.
We will follow you, but if it doesn't work, you know what?
I'm pretty sure that it works.
You will pay you will pay us a dinner tomorrow.
I'm pretty confident.
Submit. Oh, it doesn't work.
But you
I want you to pay the dinner.
You should export to the app.
I'm exporting.
No.
to import it.
Import it.
Okay, yes.
So index.
Yeah.
I'll remove this weird life cycle.
Yeah.
And I will say here. I will render it instead of
My
say form. We can just name it form.
Okay, so we can change the name here.
Because it's a default export.
Okay.
If it's a default export, you can. Because its original name is default.
Okay.
It's not. It doesn't have a name. Form. We can say /index, but it's by default /index when you import a folder. If you know what I mean.
But it was my fault. The name was.
Where? No, it was index.js. It's index.js.
But in this case, because you have the only file is index.js.
No. If you don't put anything here, it's by default index.js, even if you have 70
Yeah,
files.
because it's the only file inside.
No, because I want to import index.js. If I have another file here, it will not edit anything. I can have, for example, another file here, and it will still work. Because by default, if you write this, or you write index, it's the same.
Because they are one file.
Yeah. No, it's
No,
not.
it's because of index.
It's because of index.
Because it's called index.
It's because it's called index.
So if you call it something else?
No, you need to say something else.
Okay, so it's for default, React give you the possibility.
Not React, it's JavaScript.
JavaScript give you the possibility
Yeah.
to get it as an index.
It's like when you go to websites. When you create a page, you name it index.html.
Yeah, that's why they call it. They teach us to call it like main.js, index.js, index.html,
Yeah.
style.css.
If you say index.html, by default, when you go to /, it will go to HTML. It's the same thing here. When you say /, it will go to inside it, index.html. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense? Just the convention. Nothing related to React. It's JavaScript. So we have the form.
It seems like you have to pay the dinner.
I will not. I didn't say that if I will lose, I will pay. Okay? If we submit, we refresh. But that's not cool. So, are we good? So I will say on submit. I will say this dot handle submit. It's
Why we have to write the unsubmit in the for? Why we don't use it in the input type submit?
Unsubmit queue.
because if I will have this,
Change the unsubmit.
if I will have this, should I put it here or here or here? What?
No, the line 10 inside of the line.
Line 10?
Yes. It shouldn't be there.
As far as I remember, no.
No, because when you click the submit input,
You're submitting the form.
Submitting the form.
It's negative 4, not
The form that is
Yes.
on submit.
It's maybe if we have a lot of input, for example, for name to the form, you are saved on that.
It's like E.
Delete the input.
Delete it. Yeah, I deleted the input. Input. Type text. Okay. And we can, for example, give it name. So now when you submit, well, technically it doesn't do anything. So I would say E dot prevent default.
But by default, it's refresh the page, isn't it?
What?
By default, it's refresh the page.
But now if I'm saying
Now
prevent
it's-
default, it will not.
It's the
It's like, you know, like prevent, stop the default. Because the default is refreshing the page. I'm preventing the default. Okay? So now I want to print the content of name, of the name. What should I do?
You have to make a constructor,
And put the state
put the state.
and store the value inside the input, inside the state.
Yes.
And use on change and stuff.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what we should do. So we will have constructor,
Take props.
take props.
We don't need to use the
We can ask a
process.
question. You know, we was seeing me and Jana last time. You know, there is some kind of people that they don't call even the constructor and they don't the state. They do just state.
Yeah, you can do this.
But what the difference? between
Yes,
that?
state.
You can do
write
this.
that, it's like
What the difference?
This is new JavaScript. This is new Java. It's to
It's the same thing.
Yes.
Yes,
it's the same, but
exactly.
this is new JavaScript. It's still not supported in a lot of browsers. It's stage 3. So roughly the JavaScript people, I've discussed that before, that there is 4 stages. Stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Did I discuss that before? No. So, for example, you can go to the JavaScript people and say, I'm a web developer, I'm building this, and JavaScript it sucks. I don't like this. Can you change this? I don't like binding. Can you remove binding from JavaScript? You can do that. Literally, anyone can do that. Not anyone. There's specific people. So you want to edit something from JavaScript or add something to JavaScript. Okay? So this process, you need to write a proposal. You are proposing something. Deleting, adding. For example, people who added class and who added default parameters and spread and all this stuff. Map and filter. It's new. So someone said, I want map and filter because it's in other programming languages. So he wrote a proposal. When you write a proposal, we call it stage 0 because it's still 0. Like it's not guaranteed that it will be inside JavaScript. And 0, people will start commenting on you. And if they approve it, it will go to 1. And need to write an implementation. And if they will approve it, it goes to 2. And they will approve it, it goes to 3. And it approves it. Whenever you reach 4, it's guaranteed that will be inside JavaScript. So it's like a proposal stage in just JavaScript.
So the people that thought that was too much
Useful.
time to write all this stuff.
So you can, for example, you can get sick of JavaScript on click or binding. You can write a proposal, and the proposal will go stages. It's like, for example, like minister, prime minister, president. It's like it goes. Whenever you reach stage 4,
more
so you are inside JavaScript. So this, it's in stage 3. It still didn't reach stage 4. Well, maybe
So they
it's.
push it inside.
But you really like that.
Even
But constructed is before.
Not
Constructed.
Charge.
Constructed is
No,
already-
constructor is
Oh,
already
yeah, I can
past.
use it.
It's inside the language. Because you are 4, after that you are inside the language. But usually when you reach 4, that means you are inside. Because a lot of people approved you. So I would say, and it's called the TC39. The people who does the JavaScript ECMAScript spec. ECMAScript TC39.
Equal International.
It's the people from Google, Facebook, all the big companies. They give people. For example, PayPal give 1 guy, Microsoft give 2 guys, Google give 3 guys, and these people they get together to build the new JavaScript. So you can see here proposals.
They have to be really.
No, it's not about being good. It's nothing related about being good at JavaScript. The creator of JavaScript is not part of that. I think so. I don't think. No, it's not about that. It's like, let's say you are a beginner, and you've noticed something that it doesn't work really well with JavaScript. You are a beginner and it doesn't work with you. You can go and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about being super professional at JavaScript.
I guess you just should send.
You said like delete the whole language. Change the whole language.
Make it easier.
Let's replace JavaScript with HTML.
No. Let's something that, hey, create text box. Let it create a text box.
Or we can use, because usually people that say, I have the code in my mind, but I don't know how to make it. You just put something here.
Can you hire someone with me? Yeah, so this is like the stages. This is stage 3, stage 2, stage 1. Stage 0, it's not here, I think, because
Send the link.
no.
No,
This is out of scope. You should never confuse yourself with this.
Okay.
This is just to give you like, if you are talking with a developer, it's really good to know this, but this doesn't serve you anything. It's like knowing who built the coffee machine. I don't care who built the coffee machine. How they build it, it's not my problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Can you see stage 4? What was going to be in
stage 4 is not here because it's not a proposal anymore. I think it's called finished proposals.
2016.
Yeah.
Oh, include. We used include the.
Yeah. Values, entries, trailing comma, async functions, regex, rest spread operators. They are finished proposals.
What's that? Yeah.
Catch binding, JSON, I don't know what's that. From entries, well-formed JSON stringify because it had some problem.
Or English people.
You can see here, these are like include, it was in 2016. And you can go. Like in 2018, they added this stuff. For example, I remember I read about this flat and flat map. They will add it in. It's already added. Make sense?
Yes.
So if it's like class, it's this one, I think. No, this is the private. This is the private. Yeah, this is the private. No.
But 2019, I don't think that in 2019 they made a class.
No. But sometimes the spec will be there, but it will be upgraded from 2 to 3. Even though it's old, but they will list the new thing.
I wait.
Maybe it's finished. I don't know.
Now you can ask.
Can we continue with the coding because
Yeah, just
we are not in a level of this really.
This
We
I
are
want.
in a stage -1. Yeah.
We are all in -1. We are all in -1. We all use JavaScript -1. You should not use this. But I just need the class from.
But I think better to use just constructor and everything. I think I need to check as well.
Yeah, but anyways, the class proposal is somewhere here. I don't know where it is. But this is the difference. This is new syntax.
So how we should
What would
update
you
our
If you don't ship your code to a browser that is from 2014, it works in your machine, not in the client's machine.
No.
Because it's the old browser that the people uses. So this is the problem. So you need to transpire it. But yeah, so it's up to you. I didn't want to use the syntax because it's confusing a bit. It looks easy, but people say like, what's this? You are putting a variable inside the class.
Okay.
Simple, we can use this.
I don't know the other use it. I use it.
You use this?
Because then it look like the dot ID that you have made. It's like a properties of a class. And then
Yes,
it's
but
like
it's confusing. What?
I think this one is visual. You can understand this.
But also it's confusing because it's hiding stuff.
Yeah.
Before we were using this, but state equal. Like. Anyways, we can go with that. So yeah.
But how you can expect it then? You do this dot state.
Yes.
Do this stuff.
Yes.
Because this is this.
When we try it,
It's the same as putting it inside this.
Inside the class.
Okay.
So we can put state name. We start with empty.
Yeah.
And here we say value.
This dot state dot name.
And on change. So we can do this. We can do
Name
const. We can do const.
name and then take up
Oh,
the constructor.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
the construct.
Okay, and say like
The dot text and
This
name
dot
handler.
This
handle
dot-
submit. This. But. You don't need.
we say
Okay.
let's all do it as row functions. This is the same as this. If you can see, we are creating a variable, and we have been doing that without really.
But you don't need two functions for this. You can do it with one function.
This function is for handling submit for the form,
Okay. Okay.
and this function is for changing specific input over time. So we can say here
This dot set state
set state.
equal.
We add
Function says yes. This dot state. Okay. Name. Okay.
Name equal
E
so we
dot
say
target,
e,
E dot target dot value.
E dot target dot
and this should somehow work.
What you didn't put in the, for example, paragraph that you see.
What do you mean?
After the line 27, you can put the paragraph.
Paragraph?
Yes, the paragraph, and inside of the paragraph, you can put the this dot state dot name, and whatever you write, it will appear there.
We can do that. But, yeah.
Okay.
So here we can say hello, and we are typing. Okay. So now when we submit, we want to take that value.
Okay.
So we can say console.log this dot state. Name. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can add another thing. We can add another input. And we name it, for example,
Date.
Family, last name.
yeah, that's like age. Okay. And we say age change.
But you don't need to make a new function for that.
Why?
Because this is just a one input, and they have.
It's
just-
two input.
Now it's two.
Huh?
This
Okay,
is-
but I think you can do it with just one.
No, because I will tell you, I try it, I like to try
I can do it with one function, but that means that inside that function I need to do like
Yeah, you don't have
Extra.
to back again.
Okay, add the age in the after the name in the state.
here.
No, in the state.
Yeah, we need to do that. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, and go to the name change. For example, here. So you have to write the cons in the curly brackets, name and value. Then you put it in the this dot state, and then you can use it.
So what he means is like we can do this.
Cons, yeah.
Const name.
No, in the curly brackets, because you
Curly,
get the
curly.
name.
Oh.
And the name has a value
Yeah, we are getting.
inside of the curly bracket.
Oh, you want to distract the
Yeah,
name.
name and
The age.
and value.
There's no
Every name has a value. Yes.
You mean value like this?
Yes, exactly. Look, in the input you have name, and in front of the name, for example, you have age.
You want to use the name and like so
Yeah,
what
exactly. And
you want to do this.
uh,
You want to do this.
yes, you can do like that. I think so.
Yeah, but,
That will
what I
change
was
them
saying,
both.
it will affect both of the input because
Yeah, no, but you like what he's saying is right, but what he's saying is wrong because usually when you have an input, you don't just change the input. Maybe you want, for example, to validate it. Maybe you want to do some stuff. So if it's just like a change handler, you can even have an if else, if the name equal, if you know what I mean. You can have one function, but that means that the function will do extra stuff. So if, for example, a name has a special validation and age has another validation,
So, you can do it because I don't know how should I explain, but I think I can do it.
no, you can do it, but that means that the function will be responsible for two things. If you have, for example, age needs to be less than 15, and name should be more than 5 characters. Have special validation. So inside it, the function will be growing and growing and growing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is wrong because in most like of the form, you will have like special rules for inputs.
Okay.
You got the idea? This is why we favor like separating inputs
Yes.
because it doesn't really hurt a lot.
But
But you
ask you a
can,
question. Can you change the age input? Leave it the value of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
input.
if you just you mean this one?
Yeah. Okay.
This will work.
Yeah.
If you say hello and 9, oh, just a second. Console.log p.target name.
Yeah, but because what I'm saying is just because the E of the event are taking both of them. I'm taking both of them.
Yeah,
You cannot do that. I mean,
you can.
but can you do it?
Yeah, just a second.
Can we do
So
it?
instead to say name change is
Yeah, you can, like this. The stupid thing you can say here: if e.target.name equal age, set state with age, else set state with name. But that means that the function will do more stuff. It will be more complex.
But if you want to do both of them,
Yeah,
then you have to
Do-
do more.
exactly.
Yeah, that's why it is not a good practice.
This is why it's not a good practice to have like
Or
one
the
function.
combination, this,
Yeah.
or both of them, or one of them.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of input, then you'll be a mess.
Definitely, if you have a lot of inputs and for sometimes you have like input that is more complex, it will be a mess. Sometimes, for example, you have a name, and name it's an object that is first and last, and you have a date and it's an object, so it's. I would say like separate function is better, but you can do it without function. Of course, you can write the whole React component in one component, but that's not scalable. Like this is what you should get.
I think that the time is done. Can we ask you if you can show us how to push the homework with the create app
Yeah.
React, because I think I have a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Just a
I
second.
do it every time manually, and it bothers me, because I would like to use it.
Yeah. So for example here, I will kill the server. I'll say get status. I will have some changes. I will add all. I know this is not the most important stuff, but just doing it.
Yeah, I know. I write till commit, then when I do push, they give me there is
So
no
it's like-
upstream.
Class 3. But if you say get remote, I have origin. Okay, so you should go to GitHub. What's your GitHub handle?
Hackash. H A T
T
C
C
K A H
S
H 96.
96. So I can take this repo. I will not do that, but I can take this repo and say get origin, add this. If origin already exists, you can give it another name, or you can delete the origin. So you can say get remote,
RM,
delete, I think, or something,
RM,
Yeah. or remove. I don't know exactly. But if you say help, there is get remove. So get remote, remove origin. Now I don't have origin. If I would say,
But I tried to remove
if I would
the
say get
origin.
push origin,
But you see, it's still master. So
Master?
that means it's not.
I don't have origin. No, I don't have origin because
Yeah.
I deleted.
Mine as well. I
But
didn't
I can add an origin now. I can go to my.
I
Can-
have the
can
same
you-
problem. I cannot.
Can you do it
Push my-
because I checked if there is an origin and it seems there is no origin on that application folder.
You need to add your origin.
Yeah, I did. You did, and then it tell you this destination doesn't have add an upstream, push an upstream or add an upstream, something like that.
I think you are adding. Can you show me? We can. So here I can go to.
I will definitely show you.
Yeah, our classes. You guys can just officially close the class.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's true. It's something specific to him, so we can.
But to everybody, I mean, what are you
I
shaking?
No,
have-
no.
Everybody has a problem.
No.
I swear to God,
No.
you don't see, I was like, everybody, I don't know how to push.
No,
People
I
ask
don't
me, they ask me, did you push? How did you push? I didn't push. I pushed it manually. People ask me, I swear to God, they don't ask because they don't know. No, shame on you guys. You shut it down.
Explain the homework.
You never have, what is your homework?
So the homework is based on the last homework. So it's the same because we are still in the subject of state of props. I don't want to go faster on this.
And
Like-
please share the code that you write today.
You will have it in the same URL,
Yeah. Okay.
so you can see it online and
Yeah,
interact
I
with
want
it.
to practice it, yeah.
So we will have the same thing, but this time it's mandatory to have the done with the line throw and everything.
And
Okay.
you have to have an input for the
Data
date,
description and
create a date.
deadline. And, okay.
Yeah. So the deadline is a date, but it doesn't matter. The deadline is just another text. So it's like a form now. So it's like a form now with two inputs.
Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't have specific stuff. And you have the done, and you have the remove, the delete. You have
Cancel. What is
yeah. So it's like this, and you have an edit button.
So what happens if you work?
When you click on the edit button,
Okay.
instead of seeing the text, there will be an input with the text, and you can edit it and say update and cancel.
And then you do this that state this and take the value
Yeah.
and take it back.
So this one. So I just to give you a hint, in the array of to-dos, you will have like if you will have like a text ID, if you like ID, deadline, it's just a date or anything, it doesn't matter, and probably you can have done or not, so you can do this like we did, and you can have also editing. Is editing true or false? So whenever you click on update, editing will be true, and you show this instead of showing this. So you show an input instead of showing the text. And when you console, you say editing false. So base it on it. So for example here, base it on the done, we're showing conditional stuff. And base it on the editing, you are showing like either an input or
So we should do the last one, yes?
what?
At the end, we should do the last one, yes?
Yeah. So at the end you should have like so
Yes.
basically you will have an input. You'll have an input, and when you click the button update, the input will be text again. When you click update, the input will be an input again. You know, so you'll be like switching in between.
So let me get. So there is the line, okay, of all the to do that we have done.
Yeah.
You write the title, add, and you have it. The checkbox, the title, and the remove and edit button.
Yeah.
Okay. So then if you put remove, it deleted. Okay. If you put edit, you will get an input, it
Yeah.
will be the tag,
Yeah,
and the update, cancel, and remove.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is edit? What do you need is edit?
You need the way to keep which one are you editing?
Oh, then you have edit.
Yeah, no, the one that you are editing. I will show you. Give me just 5 seconds. Yeah. So you can have. I'm just trying to help you with the homework so you don't get stuck. So you can have is edit. Okay. And let's say when you click the button. Sorry, when you click the button, submit. I will not show this, but I will show this dot set state is edit, not this dot state dot is edit. I will simply flip it. Okay? And here I can say, or not this one. Yeah. So I can say is edit, this dot state dot is edit. I will show the input. Otherwise, I will show this dot state dot name. I don't know if that. Yeah.
Okay, if it's true, you show input.
I think you have to put it in the parentheses.
Just a second. Yeah, there is like 2 inputs. So we need to go this outside. Oh, this one we need it every time. So it's like or this state dot. Yes, like this. So if it's editing, we show the input. Otherwise, we show the name. So if we will do, I closed the server. Sorry. So hello. I need to prevent default. Just a second. Prevent default. So I can type hello, submit. It will be. I can switch between the input. A good idea. Just to build some sort of dynamic UI. And I'm doing that based on edit. So you can have each to do its own edit, or you can have something called current edited to do. And it will host the ID of the to do that you are editing now. When you click cancel, you make it null. When you click on one of them, you make it the ID of the two. Like up to you. This is just advice, so you can actually proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.